Phoenix Rising by Michael Anastas. I soon learned that Merlin had forgotten about what had happened to me and Faith. When he saw the Pokeball sitting on the chair, he slapped himself and pushed the button. In a sudden flash, I found myself sitting back in the chair with Faith in my lap, her arms still around my neck, just as she had been in the Pokeball. "That was very disturbing," I managed to utter. "Please don't make me do that again." Faith smiled. "What? I liked being with you. Can't we do it again?" "I gotta pee. Can I get up?" Faith stepped out of my lap. "Fine." I ran to the bathroom, shut the door, filled a paper cup up with water, and slowly poured it into the toilet, hoping it would make the right sound. "I still don't get it," said Ash. "How can you two be so affectionate? You're not even the same species." Faith fell down to all fours and looked down at the ground. "It's what you'd call a long story, one we really don't have time to—" "I'll wake the others," said Merlin. "You'll probably be done with it by the time Mike's out of the bathroom." He shut the door behind him, and Ash was left alone with Faith. "He's waiting outside the door," said Faith. "And so is Mike, so I might as well tell you. Michael's family history is pretty ugly. His mother's ancestors were Scottish clan members, and his father's were Viking descendants." "Scottish and Vikings?" said Ash. "Wasn't there a big war between them?" "More like 10 or 20. Anyway, whether it was because of their heritage or not, there was always family conflict. To make matters worse, his father was a trainer in the Kaz Gym in Dark City." "Dark City? Been a while since I heard that name." "So you know. It's all resolved now, but Mike lived there when the conflict was at its worst. Half his family was killed in combat, and the other half wanted him to fight for Kaz, like his dead relatives did. He ran away when he was 5 years old. Somehow, I stumbled upon him a month after he ran away. Back then, I was just a Vulpix, and a young one at that. Anyway, I was curious. I'd never seen a human, so I followed him. Well, he got attacked by an Ekans, and I went to his rescue. I won the fight, but I got hurt pretty badly. Turned out, it was Mike who ended up saving my life." She closed her eyes and smiled. "We were friends from that day forth. 2 years later, Merlin found me wandering off a little too far from Mike. He tried to capture me. Of course, he won." "And that's how we learned about the Phoenix School?" "Right. Mike's an odd case. He never attended the League. Merlin, Darius, they all fought in the League before they considered the possibility of the Phoenix Badge. All Mike really knew was the fighting in Dark City. Nobody said he would, but he passed all the tests. To make them cringe even more, he proved the theory of Pokemon speech wrong by teaching me how to speak English. I owe a lot to him, and he owes a lot to you. In other words, when we started our lives, we were the only friends we had. We owe a lot to each other. Call us siblings if you must, but it's still the same." She took a deep breath. "I know how screwed up everything I just said is, but it's the only truth I can give you." I'd heard enough, but everything she said was true. Faith had saved my life, and in return, I'd given her one worth living. Call me weird, call me crazy, call me a lunatic if you must. It's just as Merlin always says, bitch, moan, and each to his own. I don't give a flying crap if that's your opinion. I nearly gave my life to save Faith's, and heaven help me, I would do it again, and there is no changing that. The daily newspaper, which was delivered free to every house in Paradise City, stated that the hurricane had shrunk in size, now giving the coastal cities down to mild rainfall. This, however, included Paradise City, so when we walked outside, we could still see the strange effects the dome gave, almost like the sky itself was breaking apart in tiny flashes of pale light. That was the visual effect the rain gave to anyone watching it from below the dome. Darius was the first to bring it up. "I don't mean to be the whiny one, but right now the storm is falling, Team Rocket is retreating, and we're standing inside one of the most famous leisure cities on the continent." "You want a day off?" asked Merlin. "More or less. I think we all need one." Merlin shrugged. "All right, go ahead." We remained silent for a moment. Then, all at once, we gave a little call of joy and went off in our own directions. All except Ash and Merlin. "You're not going anywhere?" "Well, actually, I was thinking maybe I could take some time to learn a few more techniques." Merlin was surprised, but he curved his lips up in a smile. "I like that enthusiasm. Pretty soon, you and I might just end up becoming rivals." "Rivals?" Hey, that's a good thing for me. I've told you before, being the best of the best can get on your nerves fast. Of course I'll take time to tell you more. Darius fought a few Pokemon battles with the local gym leader. Of course, since Merlin Durai is the only famous Phoenix trainer, Darius was able to conceal his identity and beat the living crap out of him. He came back to the inn with 5,000 bucks in his pocket and a smile on his face. Misty and Brock took a quiet walk through the Paradise Park alone, and then went off to different restaurants where they experienced extremely foreign cuisine. Serge somehow managed to find the only gunsmith in town and stockpiled them until he realized he didn't have anywhere to put them. We got together and bought train tickets when we heard his story. Faith and I have no comment, and don't let your dirty minds go anywhere with that! Merlin, of course, spent the whole day teaching Ash new techniques, abilities, physics, etc. Faith and I came back to the hotel around 6 o'clock, and found Merlin and Ash sitting around the table, discussing advanced tactics that I couldn't even remember learning about in class. Something about how electricity really does beat rock. "This is something I've kept out of my classes," said Merlin, "and I trust that you won't be publishing it in a book or anything?" "Never." "All right. Pikachu?" Pikachu jumped up on the table. "Catch it?" "All right. For your leisure pleasure, my golem is going to take one hell of a pounding." He took out a Pokeball and gave it a light toss. Golem appeared before him. "Now, Pikachu, I want you to attack Golem with your best electric attack." "Pika?" "I'm serious. He won't bite." Pikachu jumped off the table. There was a massive shock, and Golem was enveloped in light, but when the smoke cleared, he still remained intact. "All right, Golem. Now you're sure you want to do this?" "Boredom!" "All right." Merlin took out a red marker, bent down over Golem, and drew a red X on his right side. "All right, Pikachu. Now concentrate all your power on that one spot, dead center of the X." 2 lightning bolts flew from Pikachu's electric sacs, merged into one, and collided with the red X. Golem was thrown against the wall. Some loose rocks were scattered about the floor. As I watched, Golem stumbled to his feet and gave Merlin the OK sign before fainting. "You are one brave Pokemon, Golem," said Merlin as he recalled it. "Now, Ash, you had better have learned something from Golem's misfortune." "What did you learn?" "That electricity spread through the air won't affect a rock Pokemon, whereas electricity concentrated into a lightning bolt results in deadly effects." "You're catching on. Now, can you think of another case in which the same law is true? Give me an example. I don't expect you to batter one of your Pokemon to prove a point." They named over 20 different cases, and I forgot all of them while trying to keep up with them. Ash looked up from his notebook. "Oh, hi guys. How much did you hear?" "All of it, but I forgot it all while trying to keep track." It's no problem if you did," said Merlin. I took slow steps over to where Golem once stood and hefted one of the loose stones. "Was this part of your Pokemon?" "It's a scale. It'll grow back. Besides, Golem has gotten hit by so many electric attacks that they don't do as much as they should. Is there a reason why you're limping?" "No, I'm just still a little edgy about being trapped in the Pokeball for an entire night." "Don't let it get to you." He looked down at Ash's notes. "We got our tickets at the train station for Emerald City. From there, it's only a day's walk to San Manuel." I flopped down on my bed. It's about time something right happened. "You don't think learning some of your unknown abilities was good enough for you?" I looked up from the bed. "Huh?" Merlin drew his sword. "Remember the fireball?" "Yeah, so?" "Has anyone ever told you that you're a crackhead?" "Only you." Merlin rolled his eyes. "You have telepathic Pokemon. That thing I did with the fireball? You could do that!" "I could?" "You crackhead! If you have telepathic Pokemon, then you need telepathy to command it." He took a pencil off the table. "Here, break this." I climbed out of bed, took the pencil out of his hand, and snapped it over his forehead. "There, it's broken. Happy?" "You crackhead. I meant with your mind!" Merlin picked up the pieces, connected them in his hands, and using his telepathy, he repaired it. "Do it again." I did what he told me to, and snapped it over his forehead. "Hey, you told me to do it again." Merlin turned back to Ash. "You'll figure it out sooner or later. It's not a necessary lesson anyway." I fell back down on the bed. "God!" I shouted, raising my hands to the ceiling. "Make the learning stop! My brain needs an upgrade!" Faith laughed to herself. "I admire your honesty," she said with a smile. There aren't that many humans who would admit that. At that moment, Darius literally flew through the door. "Emergency!" he shouted. "Jesse's back with reinforcements!"